Thanks for clicking. Canadian homeowners are feeling the pinch of rising interest rates, with nearly 1 in 4 saying they might need to sell their homes if interest rates rise much further, according to a new poll by Manulife. We also received news last week that Canadians are putting even more money on their home equity lines of credit, HELOCs, adding an additional $2 billion in February alone, breaking a 10-year record. With the Bank of Canada seemingly laser-focused on raising interest rates, in this poll showing that rising interest rates are making Canadians increasingly nervous, more and more downward pressure is being put on Canada's real estate prices. So what I want to do today is go over the results of this poll, discuss how the growing negative sentiment is going to bleed into Canada's real estate market, and then go over what to look for next. Speaking of what to look for next, we are set to receive May's real estate data from the Canadian Real Estate Association, which is widely expected to show major price declines across Canada. We'll obviously have updates out on that report on this channel. If you want to get those updates, make sure you click like and subscribe. But for now, let's get into this poll. As mentioned, nearly 1/4 of respondents of the Manulife poll said they might have to sell their homes if interest rates were to rise much further. The Manulife poll found that 18% of Canadian homeowners feel they can no longer afford the house they're living in. Finally, the poll found that fewer than half of Canadians felt they were effectively able to deal with rising interest rates at 46%, inflation at 42%, or house prices at 40%. But it makes sense when you look at the financial system review, which we talked about last week. During the pandemic, 1.4 million mortgages were taken out, with 300,000 of them being high loan-to-income ratios, meaning the mortgages were 4.5 times the income amount, meaning 22% of borrowers stretched themselves to the near maximum. With the exception of loans taken out after the purchase was completed, the increased costs stemming from gas, food, inflation are most likely adding extreme financial stress to many of the holders of these mortgages, whether they got fixed payments or not. Further, as mentioned earlier, Canadians are more and more relying on their HELOCs, on their home equity lines of credit, to fund their day-to-day purchases, adding over $2 billion in extra balance on those HELOCs in February alone. And with home equity lines of credit, the payments rise as prime rises. So, between February and now, interest rates have risen 1.25%, 125 basis points. So, it's more than likely that those homeowners that have those HELOCs are feeling even more financial stress as their monthly servicing costs have gone up and are likely to continue to go up.
There's more where that came from!
Indeed, as mentioned, Canada's unemployment rate hit 5.1%. which is going to put more pressure on the Bank of Canada, or give the bank more room, depending on how you look at it, to raise interest rates going forward. So, in summary, we have 18% of Canadian homeowners thinking they can no longer afford the home they're living in. We have 22% of pandemic homebuyers stretching themselves to the near max. And we have an increase of HELOC usage at its highest rate in 10 years, with the Bank of Canada set to raise those borrowing costs even further. All in all, not a great sign for Canadian homeowners. And I think it's worth noting that this poll, while released today, was conducted in late April. Since that poll, the Bank of Canada has raised interest rates by another 50 basis points just 2 weeks ago. So it's more likely than not that the situation has gotten worse since this poll was conducted in late April. With Canadian homeowners feeling the pinch of rising interest rates, with them continuing to add even more debt, it's becoming more and more likely that Canada's real estate market is going to be flooded with new inventory in the coming weeks, months, and years ahead. If you know that you can't afford the home you're living in, and it doesn't look like it's going to be getting any better anytime soon with the Bank of Canada continuing to raise interest rates, you're going to try to sell your house. You're going to try to get as much equity out of it as you can before prices drop too much, taking the equity out while you can. However, as more and more Canadians are forced to put their homes on the market as a result of these higher interest rates, we're going to see a flood of supply come to the market, and it's not clear that the demand will be there to snap up that supply. And as a result, we're going to see more and more downward pressure on Canada's real estate prices going further. And I think we're going to see this when we get Canada's real estate data in a few days, maybe a week from the CREA. And we're going to see it even more when we get June's data in a few weeks from now. I think we're going to see that much more inventory has hit the market than there have been buyers. I know I'm seeing it in my hometown in London, and we're hearing a lot of it coming out of Toronto as well, and I'm assuming elsewhere in the country as well. So, judging from this poll, from other polls we've seen, judging from the increased debt combined with increased interest rates, we're probably going to be seeing continual price drops in Canada's real estate market, at least for the foreseeable future. With that said, we'll obviously have updates out on those price drops and on those rate hikes on this channel. If you want to get those updates, make sure you click like and subscribe, and thanks so much for watching.